The biggest compliment we could get on the first Iron Man film was, wow, I don't usually like movies like that, but I loved Iron Man. And what the people are really saying is, oh, it wasn't just explosions and special effects. I cared about the characters.
Iron Man, that's kind of catchy. It's got a nice ring to it.
It was a very fresh thing to do at the end of the first movie, to announce that he was Iron Man and to not do the secret identity thing.
I am Iron Man. It's one thing to say you're Iron Man and another thing to actually even know what that means.
It allows for a whole world of possibilities that don't normally exist in this kind of a movie.
To really flesh out this character, make us, care about this guy and really wonder what's this dynamic going to be.
There's so many interesting characters and relationships.
When you have somebody like Robert Downey, you have Gwyneth Paltrow, you've got a character as rich as Tony Stark, you want to further explore the trials and tribulations of being Tony Stark.
Part of the appeal of Tony Stark is the damage, and, he's a complicated figure.
And somebody who is seemingly on top of the world, who has no connection to their father at all.
I never got to say goodbye to my father.
He has to be injured by the ghost of his legacy. And I thought that was great. So this time we wanted to tell this part of a bigger story,
It feels really fresh and exciting.
Everyone has the common interest of creating the best movie possible. Kevin Feige, I've heard a million times say, I'm sitting in my seat, I want to see Iron Man do this.
We found a tone with Iron Man 1 that was new and fresh and cool. And how do we keep that tone going?
We were an underdog the first time we came around. All eyes were on us this time.
A week out, it's Friday, and we're shooting not this Monday, but the following Monday. Mickey hasn't come into town yet. I've only sat down with the guy once. He's called me and texted me from Russia. He took it upon himself to fly to Russia and go to a prison, which I thought showed some commitment. He keeps faxing me lines that he wants to translate into Russian that he wants to say to his cockatoo. And I say, that's your prerogative. All of my time is being monopolized by the actors, the rehearsal process, and refining the script for these performers. And they have tremendous insight because there's nobody who's better at speaking on behalf of the logic of the character than an actor, a good actor who's smart. So I'm really trying to soak up that insight and incorporate it into the script, and then also trying to stay loose enough to be open to new ideas that come to me at 4 in the morning. So it's a very interesting combo of people. I can't believe the cast we have. I mean, any one of these people could star in their own film, and have, between Scarlett and Sam Rockwell and Gwyneth and Mickey, and of course Robert and Don Cheadle. We're in writing sessions trying to pull this script together. It always feels like you're burning the candle at both ends. I'm really, really excited about what's going to happen. First time around, we wanted to show people that their superhero was in good hands, and we took it seriously, and we were paying attention to the source material. And what we do in this one, for starters, is Tony's on a bad road. His life was too busy to start with, and then he said, I'm Iron Man. So in the script, we explore what happened over the last 6 months.
He has this hole in his chest, and this sort of dilemma that is really a dilemma of mortality after he's made this sort of vow or promise to be Iron Man.
In the first movie, we made it very clear that this is a metaphor for his heart, for what's inside him as well as the armored exterior. And we continue that metaphor in the sequel.
When he made these RTs, they had enough power to power something very large for a short amount of time or something very small for a longer amount of time. So really the question was, how many more licks can his Tigger take?
How about the high-tech crossword puzzle on your neck?
Road rash.
As things aren't working out for him, it begins to go on the fritz. He begins to notice that his body's reacting in a strange way to what essentially is implanted in his chest.
Tony, both in his suit and in his goings-on with Pepper, he's going to have to figure out something that lasts a little bit longer. Entrances. He's in process of always inventing and trying to figure out a way to improve his system.
The Mark III we saw him wearing at the end of the first one, and then we figured that he wanted another version, so we have the Mark IV, which is similar but slightly different in design.
He's slightly adapted the Mark III from the end of the first film. It's the Mark IV, still the iconic circle RT, but if you look at it, you compare it side by side, it's sleeker, it fits better, but it is iconically and unquestionably Iron Man. It's hard to separate Tony from his tech. It's one. We're going to explore these emotional changes that he's undergoing, this connection to his father, to his past, his relationship with Pepper, and of course overcoming this technical challenge and how they sort of merge into one.
We just need to recharge our batteries and figure it all out.
Not everybody runs on batteries, Tony.
We started looking at the Crimson Dynamo backstory and kind of playing with some other characters. We really liked Whiplash, and Ryan Meinerding, who is one of the most talented concept artists in the entire industry. We thought that Ryan Meinerding doing a Whiplash costume built in a cave with a box of scraps could be really cool.
At the beginning of this process, when we started with Whiplash, he was actually going to be one of a whole cast of villains. So based on sort of lesser villains in the Iron Man universe. So when I designed him, I didn't know that he was actually going to be the main villain. This is sort of where we started with Whiplash. He was sort of implanting himself with pins. At that point, I think his RT was actually going to be an internal thing. That was one concept, and then another concept was to sort of take it so it was a little more external. It looked a little bit higher tech, and all of the whip mechanisms were external. This was sort of like the final iteration of that beginning phase where it was really adding a lot of exoskeletal stuff to the suit.
One keyframe can define a whole sequence. You know, I mean, then we start building storyboards and we start writing script pages, but if there's an idea for a moment that John can communicate to Ryan can put down on paper, it can just inspire everybody.
We didn't want it to be so overwhelming that you couldn't see the person underneath it, and when Mickey ended up getting cast, it made a lot of sense to show as much of him as possible. Trying to find a way to add some sort of realism to the character. I think that's primarily what my job is. We had always sort of thought that he was going to be this sort of badass Russian prisoner. That's the archetype, if you will, that I went for in the first drawings. When you found out that it was going to be Mickey, it was definitely, it added a lot to the design, and I ended up doing a sketch of him as that character. And I think it added a whole new, like, really, gritty, dark dimension to it. That's great.
The keyframes are important, too, because I'm going to have Mickey in here today, and this is going to mean a lot more than the pages. This is going to be as an actor, I get that. Fortunately, I have a really good team of people, and we've divided the work well, and I feel like I've delegated properly, and I have a lot of good people working on the visual effects side of things, and we're really a step ahead as far as motion capture and doing previs based on performance by stunt people, and Maddie's in the volume operating the camera. So our previs isn't just coming out of a previs department of animators and basically, techs that are doing the job of the editor, the stunt coordinator, and the cinematographer. We're actually engaging all those people in that process. So my hope is that we're actually a leg up on that work. And I'm learning a lot from the animation model that as it informs the animated elements of this film. And my job has been to keep that consistent with what we're doing in the script and with the actors.
With this much action and this much visual effects, storyboards pale in comparison to what previs can do. Ultimately, that was just a template. It was sort of an example of a vibe for the camera that everybody can sort of understand. And then subsequently, you have first unit shooting what we have to shoot. We have second unit shooting what they have to shoot. You have the effects people knowing exactly how much we're going to see. It's a better method of communication, really, for all the people that have to be involved.
Is it too close to camera, too convenient? Do we want to see him just flying down and get rocked? Right now it's very dynamically happening right next to the camera. The explosion's going to be whiting out the camera. He's going to be disappearing, it seems.
Yeah, he should be flying out of frame. That's such a strong impact that he's here. That you want to lose him on an impact like that, not hold him.
Right, or start it further away. That makes it easier to hold him as opposed to trying to make it so dynamic. I still think there's a little too much convenience in the framing.
What we did in previs in this time, which is different than the last time, is we did complete keyframe animation on the first one, and on this one we decided to do it a little bit different, and we went with motion capture.
Let's just have a couple beats at the start where you're kind of hovering or, balancing as you're coming up through the floor. We're in San Francisco at Industrial Light and Magic. This is the mocap room, and this is where we capture motion performance and apply it to our characters. This allows us to see what can and can't work rather cost effectively without having to do it on set with a bunch of actors and everybody working around it.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, let's do this one right now.
We can easily just shoot some motion capture, put it into the computers, apply it to Iron Man or War Machine, see if it's working, and then if it is, done. If it doesn't, then we can come back down here and reshoot something.
Fight choreography was captured digitally through the use of motion capture and then put into the computer system, which was ultimately the previs.
We have a virtual camera. We create the backgrounds first, then we do the movement, and then you can actually choose your angles in our offices.
You know, we moved on the side of Iron Man, and what we could do is here, we could have this guy fly away.
Yep. Right now he flies back, I think.
Yeah, see, I'll hide him, and then boom. You know, I'll hide him. Yeah. Like it'll be a reveal on him falling back. See that? Boom, got it. Yeah.
We were putting the camera, a handheld camera, to the action in the Japanese garden. All the stuff that you've seen here is motion captured. Been put in this computer, this volume, and now we're in this room shooting it as if we were shooting the scene. That magic up there allows us to triangulate the camera based on the digital environment.
Using a virtual camera, not unlike what they used for Avatar, it was much more effective than me sitting at a computer with a preview artist and saying, okay, well, let's change the lens to a 27. And then you're just sitting there and with keystrokes trying to move the sig. Well, it's much more effective if I can hold the camera, have the choreography being done digitally in front of me, look at this tablet that's ultimately my camera, react to the movements, and then all of a sudden be inspired by one move that takes the camera to another place. This technology allowed me to get a lot of shots done in a short amount of time.
Action.
Cut.
About a week ago, I was starting to freak out. When it was looking for a minute there, like it might not be working out with Mickey. That really scared me because even though I don't know what to expect with him, I know he's going to bring something, and the last thing I want is it to be boring and predictable. And I know that even though I don't know the guy and it's going to be interesting working with him, I know he's going to bring something really cool and inspired. And I'd rather manage that than try to inspire somebody who's coming in just to please.
Mickey he's just a sweet and smart actor. John felt this strong connection to the idea of Mickey being brought into the loop.
I think it's really good because everybody's in sync together. You know, Robert is going to bring his thing to the table, and, you know, I bring whatever I'm feeling that day.
I think probably the most intense, legitimate, real process-driven days were the days where John and Mickey were working very closely on kind of building up his backstory.
This is what you've been working on your own in Russia. And the big thing, which is just a circle right now, is the piece of tech that fits in here that actually Russell Bobbitt, the prop guy,
I think he's bringing the real one.
Oh, is he?
And we're going to install it so you can see it lit.
Ryan had designed, he gave us the designs for Whiplash, you know, approved by John. We wanted to kind of give it a much rawer, grittier feel to it. Bruce Mitchell, who's doing some fabrication work, he just took that and he just ran with leather, does great leather work. We will have little parts that will be moving on the back that are radio controlled, and with a little spine piece that moves. So we may have about 4 or 5 servos, you know, on the back side of the suit. This is the original mock-up for Whiplash that we put together. It's all kind of out of foam parts, but we did this so we could just get the initial feel of how he's going to move. You can see here we have spandex or flexible parts through here. It's just an idea to conceptually get a working suit down before we moved into the leather.
These things back here will be this color.
Yeah, well, something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, this is what the Iron Man suit's made of.
So Lawrence, when Bruce gets here, this is brilliant.
Should I whip this thing on?
Yes, you'll try it on?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sitting here now before we've even filmed a day of him in this suit. And I think you have to include the actors because they're the guys that bring the stuff to life. Because the more interactive and the more they feel that they belong to that thing, the better.
I didn't really want to be in a whole full suit. You know, that was part of the appeal to me, that it was just, you know, it was skin and leather and whatever these things are made out of. They built a great suit that weighs 38 pounds, not including the arms. So what I did is I worked with my trainer for about 7 weeks with a 40-pound vest on a treadmill for like 40 minutes. So I wouldn't get exhausted every time I put the suit on, because the first time I put the suit on, I said, man, you know, this ain't gonna cut it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's crazy.
Insane.
That's why I here check the mirror. Wow.
How mad would they be if I Twitter this?
That was the first time that John had seen what we were building, the first time we met Mickey, the first time Mickey had the thing on. So it's like you're jumping right into the frying pan.
A lot of times the problem with these things is it starts to, once you layer it on, it starts to engulf the body.
Plus, you don't want this stuff rubbing your tattoos off too if it transfers.
Yeah. Well, they did a lot of prepping on this movie, and I think they were really good in their preparation and their research, and it makes your job easier, because if you ask a question, they can answer your question and give you an adjustment. It just all flows easier when the director has done his homework.
Maybe a little bit lower on the thing.
Yeah, it feels like it wants to be.
It feels like it's going up a little.
Yeah.
Angle forward and be about right there. Obviously, when you throw Mickey Rourke's name around, you kind of, the designers, the whole team sort of senses something a little bit different. It brings in a unique approach. But we're still early on that one, and I think it's going to be fantastic, but I think that we've got a long ways to go.
This time around, we get to unveil the gun-riddled version of Iron Man that is War Machine.
The War Machine, the design is awesome. It is absolutely fantastic.
We developed a style for the suits in the first film. We wanted to continue that. And as the War Machine is built on the base of the Mark II, that was our starting point.
The design of the suits works. We work hand in hand with Ryan Meinerding. It's really like John works for months with his camp on looks, then we kind of work with them on fusing those together.
How bulky we could get, how many weapons we could fit on it, and still have it look like a guy could walk around in it, like he would have the mobility that an Iron Man character needs. Those were the challenges. But when you have Legacy Effects bringing this to life for us, it's a huge pleasure to see it come together.
The thing about a studio like ours, whether it's Stan Winston's studio then or Legacy Effects now, it's a core group of absolute comic book. I hate to use the word. Let's call them fans.
Shane will sit down and just break everything down. Once they have approved drawings and designs of what they want, then we build a 3D model in the computer. Once they approve the 3D model, then we will grow a maquette so they can see it in full form. Because sometimes, when you see it in the computer, it's, it just isn't quite there until you can see it in that true 3 dimension, standing in front of you.
The main difference, I think, and hopefully, the fans aren't upset about this one, is we don't have the exposed missile pod at all times. That was one of the things that the Marvel guys definitely wanted to try and work in. But the fact of having like 2 big things on either side of a head makes, shooting him a little bit difficult.
This is going to be a problem, or just something that we have to work out, is the fact that these large bullet case missile cases are right there. You got a little bit more room, but you're gonna probably pitch your body a little bit. Yeah. The only solution is to take this plane and kind of jockey it out a little bit.
We found ways of trying to actually work. This isn't the final design for this, but the missile pod actually, there's a missile pod in each one of these shoulder straps.
What we're doing behind me here is putting together the Mark II autopsy scene for Edwards Air Force Base. It shoots in about a week and a half or 2 weeks. From our molds from the original show, we've recast pieces and had them all. This is all nickel plating, real metal nickel plating. We mocked this up at first, and John went through and decided what areas he'd really like to see broken apart that would work for the story in his mind. But you can see down in here, we'd never really seen the inside of the Mark II. So we're recreating it for the scenes. We were fashioning the interior. He'll pull this chest piece off. We added lead into this chest piece to give it some more weight because these are just all fiberglass parts. The suit that we're going to do for Don is a lot of the same components, but we'll mostly just use the upper part of it.
This time around, the stipulation from the director, take what we learned, modify it, make it better.
They made the suits a lot more lightweight. They were much quicker to go on and off. made them out of more forgiving materials, and we even had lighter stunt suits.
They're going to do mostly motion capture for the legs. They found in the first film it was much more difficult for them to get the movement they really wanted, and it just took more time. They'll be able to speed it up a little bit more this time around.
They made them lighter and better, more articulated, and ultimately making it look even cooler.
It's cumbersome, but I think it helps for us to actually feel what we would feel in those pieces. It lets you feel a bit more of what the real dynamic would be inside something like that. Though I guess, it would be more ergodynamically designed per Tony's instructions, but it still gives you a feeling that would be different than if you're just in the Lycra suit and you have some balls and tape around your arms. It's hard to really feel the volume that suit has. I was feeling the 45 pounds as well. So it's cool to get in that, and then it's really cool to get out of it. That's actually the best part of putting it on, is that you'll get to take it off.
We're doing our camera test now for costumes and makeup. I'm looking at Scarlett for the first time with her new hairdo.
I mean, when you think about what it would normally look like, I'd probably be wearing like some horrible policewoman bun. So the fact is, we might as well make it look as good as we want, because
it's a comic
it doesn't
book.
make any difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a comic book, and
Plus, when you're doing all the flips and things with the hair going, it's probably gonna be great. Then you could have those great moments where you sort
Herbal
of
essence
whip your
moment.
exactly. You whip your hair back.
Well, I saw the final costume when we were doing wardrobe tests, and I was like, oh my God, this is just not fair.
And Mary Joffrey's is costuming her.
Once it became Scarlett, it became clear that, because I've also worked with Scarlett twice before, it's starting to get a plungier neckline, but it goes plungier later, so it's like a step in between.
I get it. Good. Looks great.
Good. When I look at, I know, just watching her in other movies, I know you can tell what kind of figure she has, and I can tell what's going to look good on her.
What's cool too is you're still gonna be stuck to him because you're attached. So we're gonna have this conversation and then pop in on you hey, I'm still here.
Okay.
And you're gonna be taking off the thing. Yeah, it's just gonna force awkwardness, which is
great.
I'm a fan of. Yeah, you look great. Really like figuring out who these characters are. And I haven't seen her Black Widow look yet. I've seen some drawings, but that's when we really know. She's really getting into shape because she's been training and taking it really seriously. I've seen the tests that she's been doing, jumping off the cranes and doing the wire work and learning the combat. She looks pretty steady, and she's pretty brave and pretty committed, so that's good. It's the first time I'm seeing her as somebody who could be somebody who could be the star of a comic book movie.
3, 2, 1, go. 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, that. I was totally out of my element when it came to the physical part of this work, and for me, I've always, I think I was excited to do something that was going to be a challenge for me, and I'm fortunate enough that I'm young and able, and I was certainly more than willing to be a part of the action, so to speak.
She had a really good time doing it. Unlike some of us older curmudgeons, there's very little you can do to get under her skin. She's just consummately professional.
You always choreograph according to what best fits the actor's attributes. You always try to accentuate, what they do best. But at the same time, you want to create a style that fits specifically for, the character you're doing in the movie.
That's it.
The great thing about Jonathan is he always shoots everything and cuts it together.
We will edit it ourselves. We'll put in some After Effects to really show what it's going to look like in the end process. And we edit it per the storyboards, and then we present that to John.
Better.
These moves do exist because it was based off a flying head scissors or, scissors throws and stuff like that. But when we're doing it for film, depending on what it is, we kind of accentuate, the throws a little bit.
When you see those action movies and, you know, it's like the back of somebody's head and then all of a sudden they give that one pose at the end and you're like, that was not, that was the lamest thing. You know, you want to see the actor risking their life, you know.
2, 1, go.
Sorry. The wire work didn't really bother me too much, you know. I mean, the thing that's kind of strange about it is you have this tension pulling you in a completely different direction than where you want to go, and you're constantly fighting that. Let me see, so...
Yeah, just like that. That's good.
Ready? Okay. Stand by, and 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, nice. There you go. That's good.
Scarlett hadn't really done an action role, and she assured me that she would work as hard as she needed to both get in shape and do her stunts and learn all of that stuff. And she spent hours and hours and hours for months, by far the most dedicated actor when it came to the stunt work and the physical work.
Yeah, superhero poses.
Okay.
We're working on the Natasha
Superhero pose?
badass super pose.
Love that.
I've done a lot of films in my career and worked with a lot of great actresses, and a lot of them put in a lot of great effort, but I got to tell you what, the effort that she put forth here is, I mean, second to none. She really put her heart into this one and really has worked hard, and it shows. Let's do one more, and then we'll move on to some other stuff.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and bring her out.
It was so easy for me to be a part of that crew. I've never been so close with a stunt team before, and really they were like my little cheerleaders the whole time, and totally supported me through all of it. So I got very, very lucky working with Tom and his whole crew. And it was fun for me. You know, it's fun because you challenge yourself, and, you know, I'm competitive by nature. So for me, it's like I want to win. I want to be able to see my face on that screen and sell it to the audience, you know.
We've been just working on the script, working on the sets, trying to figure out the logic of it, trying to figure out the action beats, and just every day, you know, shoveling away, getting the cast attached. You're so focused on every day-to-day challenge that you're not really thinking of the overall, and then it hits you that you're going to be shooting this stuff. And you just have to change modes to just jumping in. You just have to jump off the diving board because it's happening. And not only that, but you have to do it with conviction because you have a lot of people looking to you to show them what to do. I'm just trying to learn from everything I did last time and how to improve the process and the workflow. If you really try to focus on everything as you do coming up, you get overwhelmed. You have to step it back a little bit and just let it wash over you and just surf it. It just feels like you're surfing. You're just sort of riding the wave and not getting hung up on anything and just flowing with it and trying to maintain your energy and not get freaked out. Don't look down.
You have to make the best movie for what you feel is the best story. And hopefully it resonates with the audiences.
The fans, you know, kind of demand that.
Everyone's pulling one rope, you know, and trying to create one thing. And when it works, when there's that sort of symphonic quality, then it elevates.
It's up to us to choose, and it's difficult to choose the right elements to put into a 2-hour movie.
I think as we started digging through that material, you know, it became apparent that there was a hero there that was kind of unlike all the others.
I cannot wait to suit up and kick some ass.
To the fans of Iron Man, I'm the biggest fan of Iron Man. It was my life. I lived it for 2 years, and since then, all I've been doing is thinking about it. I went around the world, saw how it was received. So now that I know that people share our taste, we're perfectly teed up in the sense that the audience is waiting to see what we do next, and I will not let them down. And this is the last moment, really, before we start shooting.
We're here because we had an idea for a second superhero. Marvel believed in John and I. It turned out pretty good. And so we get to do it again, and we're incredibly excited and very humbled that we get this opportunity. Favreau will be reprising his role as Happy Hogan and director. Occasionally acting like we're on the verge of performing sexual favors on each other and or like we're not speaking. Do not be alarmed by either of these. It's just this symbiosis of working together. We have new crew, we have new people, we have new energy, we have new story. Yes, we're going to look more beneath the mask. We're hoping, because we know a lot of people are going to see this film, whether we up or not, that we can imbue it with a sense of the kind of humanity and naturalism and love of the game that we had last time. So now we will commence shooting Iron Man 2.
There we go. No turning back now.
Roll sound. Rolling. Lively.
Stop it.
Hey, camera mark.
Set, and background action, and action.
Ever since Robert was announced as being Iron Man and Tony Stark, people really dug the idea, at least in the fan world, who knew what Iron Man was. And I think people who didn't know who Iron Man was intrigued by anything Robert would be involved with. I think people were waiting for him to do the right project.
When you have Iron Man portrayed by somebody like Robert Downey Jr., it's you know, we got the intended result, which was an iconic film persona right from the first scene.
And then the other cast fell into place very easily because people seem to like the idea of working with him and I together.
John and I are kind of insane. We're really idiosyncratic, and we gave each other the freedom to say, you know, I'm really upset with you about what's happening here. John would be like, baby, what's wrong? Why are you angry all the time? Or whatever, you know.
I can walk in the shot if I leave. You know why? Because I got the whole thing. I got the whole world in my hands. They love me. Give me a little something.
The last one that's shown is actually Justin Hammer's character, and something goes terribly wrong, and it's very embarrassing for him. And so people are going to be. We might want to get some people leaving and like to tell news outlets and things like that, or what the hell is going on. So we want to create chaos when it starts to happen. Maybe people are starting to get up, carrying out the blow-up dolls in the back.
Favreau just really wanted somebody who could keep up with the verbal repartee that Downey has, and I'm just barely able to do that. I mean, Downey's very quick. We went at it a little bit in the Senate room.
I love Iron Man, and I love Pete. Those are two things I'm a big fan of.
Having Rockwell there was just great because he's so game, and he's not really intimidated by anything or anybody.
Neil Briggs, exactly. Touche. I'm on your side, pal.
There's something that can be a little off-putting about it because he's just incredibly confident. And I thought, well, then if there's someone who's going to try to sway public opinion away from Tony, that I'll just say Sam Rockwell is the guy.
Go ahead, do the thing. But I'm on your side, man. I'm working for you.
I'd worked with Favreau before, and he improvises a lot.
John is very into making everything as real as possible. So we still do our improv thing, and we change it up just because that's how Robert and I like to work, and that's how we like to keep things fresh and super naturalistic.
With Paltrow and I, when we get on camera together, we have something that people like to watch, and it's great.
I like to encourage a lot of improvisation on the set. You know, when you're working with Robert, Robert's very quick, unpredictable. I knew from Gary's work and from knowing him for so long that he was so quick and could hang in there, and I knew something explosive would happen.
You know, let's not use that kind of language, if you don't mind, in front of the American people, Mr. Stark. I want to say you to you.
A lot of what I enjoy about the first film was that there was an unpredictable quality to some of the scenes that in other movies of the same genre might have been a little bit more by the book. And I knew we were going to have to cut loose in this scene and have it go a little crazy and a little Marx Brothers, and while still maintaining the stakes and reality. And so when Gary said he wanted to do it, it was really exciting for me because I knew that I would, as a fan, just love to be there and watch take after take.
We would run it a couple times, and then we'd approach the bench, and then Shandling would have these other directions.
And don't pull that dowel out again.
Day two, we're wrapping up day two. We just finished the Senate hearing, which was our first scene. We shot it over 2 days. We had Robert Downey Jr. And you and him together were fantastic, a very similar sense of humor. And it was a great way to start the movie. And I went home, I was so relieved after the first take, even of The Master, seeing all those characters working together with Gwyneth there and with Don and Sam and so many people who came back and so many people's first days. And I felt like we discovered the tone of this next film. So thanks so much for being
I will say, disregarding me, quite frankly, you have quite a knack for casting. It is a fantastic cast, an unpredictable cast, and it's what makes you special, because you're able to have this vision of putting these more unusual elements together that I imagine you had to fight for. And anyway, I'm very grateful to have been in the movie.
Well, thanks for classing up our classing up our show.
Thank you, buddy.
Thanks, and that's a wrap on Gary Shandling.
This is a wrap. I'm done. I go home now and go to sleep.
Here we are. It's day 4. We're on our Russian Street in Manhattan Beach. It's where Ivan gets his credentials to travel to the race in Monaco. What's cool about this set, too, is if you look at it, it looks just like the drawing that we did months ago. It's amazing. I get a kick out of this stuff with the snow and the street. It's kind of what you start off in the movie business to do. And everybody here, no matter how long they've been at it, it gives you that feeling that you're like a kid playing. This is great stuff. It's a fun little scene. I think it'll open the movie up a bit. So it's our last day in Mickey's apartment in Moscow. He's building the whips for the Whiplash suit. So a lot of this is just one-on-one, Mickey in there alone doing his thing. And this is what we'll be cross-cutting to from time to time throughout, setting up Tony Stark in a very different environment. So we want to create as much contrast as we could. And we also wanted to echo Tony building the Mark I in the cave. So we tried to maintain a lot of the same shots and a lot of the same or similar props, as though he's working off of the same idea to create this Whiplash suit. So we'll walk into the set. Area where he built the RT. It's not really dressed right now, but you get the idea. The monitor's going. And right now they're rigging up where he's building the whip on the other side. The guys from Legacy who built the whips and the Whiplash suit are now rigging up pieces of the suit on the bench. Could we ramp the LEDs up?
You could probably ramp the LEDs up.
We're lucky enough to be at Edwards Air Force Base, California, and today's gracious hosts are the 445th Aircraft Maintenance Unit. The Shadow maintenance folks, they've done a fantastic job setting us up here.
It was amazing when we showed up at Edwards for that scene of Rhodey arriving. The amount of gear that the DoD had put on that flight line was mind-boggling.
As you can see, a lot of great production value. Some of the finest air power we have in the arsenal.
B-2 bombers, C-17s, and F-22s, and F-35s. I mean, you could literally pause the screen and tally it up, and it would probably come out to $1.5 billion. And here's this whole sea of dudes in camo. They show up with real guns, and they're there to do it, and they're jazzed to be there because they saw the first movie and they dug it.
Yeah, you got the real deal here. I mean, these are the aircraft that we fly every day here at Edwards Air Force Base with our test wing mission. We got a real engine pulled out of an F-16 right here behind us back here.
So
So this is the piece that you saw in the shop earlier. We spent another 2 weeks on this, just kind of putting in all the final little wires and hoses and so on, making all the final connections.
This design of this boot is actually a leftover from the first movie. And so we utilized the same design so that there's a continuity. This part's been created based on the technology based here at Edwards. This section of this chest, this comes apart, revealing the RT.
These are RTs that we used on the first movie when we did surgery on the Tony Stark putting in his heart. This is what it looked like. And right now we're gonna dissect the Mark II, and I think I'm gonna use one of these to be inside when they pull it out so that we see the inner workings of an RT. So just want you to edit that, put it here so that that goes away.
That's what I was thinking. If it's like, because it adds nice detail.
I think this is the power source. Major, this is not a scientific exercise. Let's just focus on arming it, all right?
We're out at Edwards Air Force Base. One of my favorite scenes in the film. This was one of the scenes we wanted to do, and then we carded these weapons, and I switched up the weapons, and Justin wrote out descriptions for each of them, I think, the night before.
It was an unfair trick on Sam because he basically there's no way that he could just pound those lines into his head in the short amount of time that we had to give him to him.
If you've just written something, the only way to get it done is have someone send it down a wire to you.
I got new dialogue thrown at me, quite a bit of it, and stuff that was very technical. I was talking about guns, and so I had to use a device that's an earwig and it's put in your ear and you're prompted lines as you're doing the take. At first I had the guns guy prompting me the technical stuff, and I realized that I needed like an actor. So it was more about timing. Flashbangs. Because Theroux is the writer, Justin Theroux is also an actor and a really talented one. And also, we have a rapport. I've known him for years.
It was kind of fun because they really got playful. So as I was giving direction, he was reacting to Rhodey, who wasn't saying much. It was really him interacting with Justin, and then me feeding Justin things, and Justin feeding him things, and him coming up with stuff, and then Rockwell accentuating that.
This is the torso taker, powder maker, 223 caliber. Our boy's in uniform called Uncle Gazpacho and Puff the Magic Dragon. It's an FNF. I'm gonna take you ballroom dancing. Put your tap shoes on.
Go through it. Don't wait on it.
All right. This is an FN 2000. Bullpup design, 22.3 caliber, M16
Theroux is the real student of the game. So, by the time you're talking about Iron Man, he's basically looking at the history of tech in the collective unconscious. He's just that kind of guy.
You can't just all of a sudden have, a gun and this and the missiles and you have to really pay attention and give that its due. I had a list of the weapons, and I was off camera, and I had a microphone, and I was feeding him what the weapons were as he was picking them up.
We got into a rhythm. Once we got into the rhythm, it was great, but man, it took a while.
Because there was so much technical information, and they were real guns, so you had to kind of get it right. You didn't want to seem like an idiot. And so we just kept shooting different sizes and featuring the guns and laying them on the table.
I like the Puff the Magic, I'll tell him. Puff the Magic Dragon.
It was just such a fun way to set up what this War Machine suit would be.
The three of us in combination cooked up a pretty fun scene, It was like the three heads were able to put our heads together literally before each take.
Came out to be this perfect storm of writing, acting, props, shooting, everything, directing, so it just crystallized.
You want some tanks? I got tanks. I got an Apache longbow.
There's the dog.
This is ridiculous. I just stuck my neck out for this guy.
Tony crosses some major lines at the party.
Get out.
Rhodey puts on the Mark II.
He doesn't put on the suit because he wants to. He puts on the suit because he's been left without option. Then, how does Tony react to that? Tony says, let's see what you got.
two different kinds of mocap, really. And one is the fight choreography and the stunt choreography, actually having sensors that were recording physical body information into the computer. Two is they used a version of a motion capture suit that isn't hooked up with sensors but tracking marks. One of the reasons why we have them in the suit is so we can put them into the scene, so they can see the way the light falls, because ultimately they're going to have to match that with all the digital work.
The house fight between Tony Stark and Rhodey. And they end up fighting like brothers, tearing the house apart. It was great.
I think that there were moments of real grace and poise in the midst of all this horsing around, because when it comes down to using his thing, it's like a pilot who knows how to, you drop it, he's got it, you could do flip turns and stuff like that. You're just really, really good with the suit. So even though you're horsing around, there's still those moments where it's a little intimidating and scary.
They get kind of tangled together and they blast through the living room into the gym. So right now we're just testing the aftermath of that. They start fighting in the gym and he knocks him into the ring.
3, 2, 1, go!
Sometimes depending on the distance, you can have actual people jumping off or something mechanical.
We have two types of rigs here that we're marrying up. We're using one that's making him jump straight up and down. And then we have another system that's going to be bringing him into the ring here.
Like you see over there, two guys that are going to initiate his trajectory.
I'm going to be standing over here with the rope, basically just pull him straight up and down.
1, go!
Sean is on a pneumatic rig, which is sitting behind the screen here. He has a button that will set that off. And with the timing of the actors, he will push that button and pneumatically fly Keontae, who's playing War Machine.
3, 2, 1.
There you have it.
This is Russell Bobbitt. He's our prop master, and we're designing a new shape for the RT light for when he changes it out for the triangle. In the suit, it's going to be a triangle, but we're trying to preserve some of the personality of the old silhouette that comes through the shirt from the light. So we're trying to incorporate the triangle, but we're confined by the shape of the hole in Tony's chest, and also when you just put a triangle in, it feels kind of Superman-ish, which we want to keep it our own.
If you squint your eyes, depending on your personality, you can find anything in there.
I think it looks like a Jewish star. I think if you swap those two things, it looks like a Jewish star, and it seems like we're sending some weird religious propaganda message, which we're not.
No, we're not.
We're not. Nothing against Jewish stars. It looks good on a necklace. I don't think it necessarily looks good in Iron Man's chest.
Oh, this is going to work.
You get so lost in the tech talk, and ultimately all of it is movie comic book logic, that to have something graphic going from a circle to a triangle, people will get that there is a new advance in that tech. And so keeping it graphically simple is cool. Plus it helps us build towards our Hall of Armor of many different designs, which is part of the mythology of Iron Man.
Here we are. Final fitting.
Doesn't she look great?
What do you think? Questions, comments, concerns?
She weighed 170 pounds when I hired her. Look, she got into shape. She's been training 3 hours a day, at least, just on the stunts.
Oh yeah, no, don't forget the 2 hours I spend lifting my own body weight. There's that too.
She lifts her own body weight. She looks fantastic.
I've eaten so much tuna sashimi since we started that I'm going to sue for mercury poisoning.
We're trying to decide between this and this. Put it on film. And we're going to be the fighting duo soon.
That's right.
Me and you.
You better bring it.
Hi, I'm Heidi. I'm Scarlett's stunt double. We've been working with her on this move for a couple weeks now, and she's actually going to maybe be able to perform it today. It's kind of a cartwheel, a one-armed cartwheel with a leg locked around the guy's neck, and then you yank him down to the ground. He does a front flip to his back. Scarlett works so hard, and she's picked up so many of the moves. In fact, she can do the beginning intro into this, and she also can finish the end flop down.
Oh my God! Happy, are you all right?
What you just do?
Sorry about that. It was just.
You just got served, Happy.
Day 44 in the garage, our last day in the garage. Tony's trashed his place, and he's forging the new element using components that he brought in from Stark Industries. With the exception of a few pickup shots in here, we're pretty much done with the set. We're gonna leave it standing because as we finish the film, the workshop always comes in handy, so we're not gonna tear it down just yet. But we're about to move on to Monaco. We shot with second unit at Monte Carlo, and we're gonna try to make the plates that we shot overseas match with what we've built here. So I've never done anything like it. I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun. It's been storyboarded, pre-vised, animatic. Hopefully it'll be the fun mid-act set piece of our film.
It's important to us to showcase that Tony Stark, that Iron Man is a global hero.
He's a jet setter, so the idea of shooting in Monaco and the idea of actually shooting in Monaco during the historic Grand Prix was very exciting.
And action! Et que quand on fasse le plan avec la Silverado, je laisserai bloquer.
Monaco to me encapsulates all of Tony's worldly endeavors and also a passion of his, which is racing.
The historic race at Monaco has the best of the Formula One cars. The cars all have about 500 horsepower, driven by the owner-drivers who are Tony Stark type of characters with a fairly high level of wealth.
Hi, I am Happy Hogan. I'm happy to be in Monaco.
Hello, I am Pepper Potts. Here we are in Monaco.
3, 2, 1, go. It's our first day of shooting here in Monaco. We had to close off a certain section of the circuit and run all of our vehicles through to mimic the movements of both the race cars, the start car, as well as Happy and Pepper in the Rolls Royce as they come to help Tony save the day.
400-meter mark. See where the gap is?
Yeah.
No barrier?
Yeah.
Right there is where it should happen. Yeah, I think we have to, it's a boom down to that.
And action.
It's a combination of empty plates, sort of cars driving with cameras down the street, into which we'll add digital race cars of Tony racing, background plates to put behind people, just to make it feel like we're actually in Monaco. And then we'll combine that with other material we shoot in sets in LA that are also built to replicate this environment.
To make it look as if the entire fight and all of the actors were here in Monaco, whereas they actually weren't. All of their work is shot in Downey, California.
When you're recreating a race, how do you get around all these logistics? The race cars are very temperamental. You can only start them up once. It takes 12 people to start it up. There's a team that runs the car.
So we built a section of the track that we could use as a foreground where we could actually flip cars and have explosions and have people in the stands and direct, because that wouldn't have really been possible. We built that track in Downey, which is a place that we shot the first film, and it's a film-friendly studio with a lot of outdoor space.
So we're building a large-size set with an enormous green screen.
It's a thrill, it's a challenge, it's much more complex than any sequence we did in the first film. And it's not even our biggest sequence in this film.
The whole Monaco scene, I think, is just going to be ridiculously off the hook, and I'm really excited to see that whole whiplash sequence.
So Tony Stark himself is racing in the Monaco Historic Grand Prix. He brushes it off. He's going to go have fun because that's what he does. He ends up getting into trouble, and that's one of our biggest action scenes.
We premiere Whiplash in the first version of his suit. He gets Tony while he's vulnerable on the track.
I just thought it was interesting. Somebody who's willing to attack you in one of the most, it's like at the Super Bowl. You know what I mean? It's like the European Super Bowl.
The idea of in Monaco, during a race, guys cutting the cars in half, a suitcase suit pops on, that's the fight.
Here, you would step from your right lead back, pull, there.
We did whip training. We used bull whips, and then we got to where we could do certain things with the bull whips, you know, which is hard with two hands to coordinate it. grabs him by the neck and the arm. By the neck and the arm, wraps it around, pulls up, and then we'll pick the proper trajectory and animation. Because it's an action movie, it was something that was very challenging to do, and that was part of the appeal to me.
It was, you know, Mickey and I and stunt guys and John and all these big things set up and hanging upside down.
So I'll come and I'll suck around here. And I'll do that.
You're not in the scene!
Back it up, John! Back it up! You're on my balls, man. You're killing me. Yeah, back it up. I got the wrong pages. I got the wrong pages. I don't have the whips. I don't have anything.
Back it up! Back it up! With the cars blowing up and flipping in the air, it would be so easy to say, let's just do that as a digital car. What we did is Dan Sudik, who's our special effects person, came up with a way to catapult cars in the air, flip them, they blow up.
It's always nice to mix the practical with the digital. So when we do the planning of the scenes, we always try to figure out what can be done practically to mix with the digital so that it has a better look to the film. We actually built 17 race cars.
Some with smoke that gets ejected onto the tires at certain points down the track, so it looks like the tires are locked up. So that's what some of these tubes are. These are our cannons. They'll shoot a 6-inch pole out onto the ground, launching the car into the air.
We started months ago. We started probably in January, figuring out the shots, figuring out the track system, you know, doing the math on all the gags, doing some testing, photographing some testing, getting it approved by the director, and that led us to this point here.
These cars are really being flipped in the air, tumbling down the track, a quarter-mile track, exploding, and the actors in the scene.
It's on a ratchet, so we're going to pull it with a pneumatic device based on the position of the other car in front of it. It's one of those things where we know the acceleration and we have to calculate the deceleration so that we don't launch the cameras off and ruin the film.
Thanks so much, and also thanks for putting up with these conditions and all that running and the energy in the sun, and I know what it's like, I get it, and I know how hard it is to do what you're doing, so thank you so much. I want to thank the crew also for killing it today. We're skipping lunch and plowing through this and doing 2 days of work in 1 day, and enjoy your weekend.
It's day 30. We're here in Van Nuys Airport, but it's playing as France. This is Justin Hammer's corporate jet. See, it's his hammer on the side, his G5.
Sure.
And this is when you're whining and dining Mickey Rourke after being...
Dining Mickey Rourke, the whole thing. It's crazy.
It was Sam's choice that you're eating something sweet in every scene. I noticed you had a sundae going here.
Yeah, I guess Sunday, a little lollipop.
Are you looking at the camera or at him when you're talking?
I'm looking at the camera.
Okay.
I'm always looking at the camera.
We're more in the same.
I'll do my Chris Walken voice.
Okay. Hammer as Chris Walken.
Okay. So, here we are. Iron Man. It's a humdinger. I like Jon Favreau. Like to swing all the time.
Justin's got the white floor, Tony's got the black floor. He's got the dark suit, you got the light suit.
I got the light suit.
You have the yang with his yin.
The salt and the pepper.
How many times we worked together now? We did Made together.
We did Made, that's right.
G-Force.
G-Force.
We're guinea pigs in G-Force together. And that's when we first started, we were thinking of you, and that's when I saw you. We started talking about this at the voiceover session for G-Force.
That's right, we did. Making movies, very exciting. Lots of hurry up and waits. I like birds, sure, all the time. I like cockatoo.
A lot of words today.
A lot of words every day. We get guns, we got Senate rooms.
You had a little time to prep this scene, though. That was good. We didn't change it on you too much.
Yeah, a little time, a little memorization.
It would be nice to give you a little more time with the words. But things change a lot around here.
Yeah.
Everything we shoot, it changes everything else.
Everything's changing.
But we're gonna try to keep your stuff pretty intact so that you could prepare and dig into it.
I'm changing my sexual preference on this movie. Everything's changing. Nuts.
Everything's up for grabs.
I want to get crazy with the cockatoo. We can roll around, get a bird.
First day working with Mickey, what'd you think?
Great. I love Mickey.
He got a kick out of you.
Yeah, he was awesome.
Yeah.
I liked him a lot, actually.
He's like, who is this guy? He's good. I said, yeah, he's good. And that's it. One day here, in and out, pretty good.
It's on.
It's on.
Cut.
We're setting up here for the Black Widow hallway sequence. This is where she takes out 12 guards and John fights one guard. Scarlett and John come through the front door, and this is Hammer Industries. As they come through the front door, they meet up with a guard. John starts fighting.
I get to fight a little bit, that is true. I did train, and I got to fight. It was fun.
Cut. Scarlett's been doing an amazing amount of training for this. In some of the more dangerous parts of this sequence, I put Heidi in just because I can't risk having Scarlett get hurt, but this is kind of the culmination of about 8 weeks of solid training for her, about 4 hours a day.
When I first saw the sequence that they wanted me to do when it was completed and choreographed, I just thought to myself, oh my God, I just don't know how am I gonna do this?
Ready, and action.
This right here, what you're seeing, is the highlight in the film for her, where we're really showing all of Scarlett's talents.
Tommy Harper combined a lot of different fighting styles, and she was game for learning it all.
I wanted to know what it feels like to hurdle over giant bodyguards and do all kinds of flippy things and whatever, all of that stuff. I think we got it, and when Tom says that he got it, then I know he got it.
It was good. You felt good with it? I didn't see anything.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I know, like, we're gonna still pick up, like, specials.
Yeah, you're right. Are the guns in a weird place? There.
Okay. One more, right away.
There. Is that helping?
That does help. Man, I'm trying to make her badass, man. She's too sweet.
I know, I feel like it's so low, I'm practically shooting at the floor. They're wonky. Did that look like I was looking right at you?
One more.
He's gone.
And then drop the gun.
It was a lot of work and very frustrating at times.
Let's do one more and just sort of cruise out.
Reshoots? What reshoots? Is that low enough?
Sure.
Too low?
Great.
Which I'm sure you see on the behind the scenes, me just being like, why? You know, and wanting to get it right.
Ready, and action!
Very nice.
I think I felt like there was electricity in the room. I felt good. Sometimes it's one shot that makes us start thinking Marilyn Monroe with the subway. That's nice. That I like that grabbing that zoom and him having trouble holding him in the zoom. All that's fun. So let's look at it. Let's look at it from the beginning. Visual effects is one of those areas where it takes a lot of work to get it right. I let those guys off the leash, and the ideas just poured forth. They're just torrent of ideas coming at you with such enthusiasm, and they would say, dude, make sound effects, and then this happens, and I shoot, and this explodes up, and it's just great. And I would just be charmed by it. I mean, yes, we'll do it. And everybody would say, how are we gonna do that? I was like, then we'll figure it out. We're not gonna do all of it.
From the first film, it's been very important to John and to us that we don't just make everything CG just to make it CG.
As good as we are in the computer graphics world, you always look at a practical reference so you can either match it or augmentate it.
Dan Sudik threw real race cars around. We had real fire, real explosions.
So all these decisions are being made. It's a process that takes you even through post.
Everything is a rush. It doesn't matter how many months you give us, we're always sort of trying to beat the clock.
A lot of ideas that would work great in 2D animated environment As you go to 3D and previs, the ideas that seem right stick and the ones fall away that don't. And then you start to see that there's certain adjustments that have to be made, but the spark and the core and the inspired ideas, try to really nurture that and preserve that, and I will continue to as we go through post-production. We're up against it schedule-wise. We've given ourselves less time on this film than we did last time, and it's a much more ambitious project. And this was part of the fear that I had when we had started so late. Less than 2 years to do this, to come up with the story, set it up, prep it, film it, cut it, and do all the finishing touches. It's no excuse. We're gonna have to do a great film, but it does put everybody under a tremendous amount of stress. It was ambitious to begin with, and now we've got to knock it into overdrive. So there's gonna be a lot of people not sleeping. Hundreds of people not sleeping. So this is our last day at Abbey Road in London, scoring. Because of the schedule, we're editing upstairs in this facility. Meanwhile, Rick Pearson, one of our editors, is at the ranch, at Skywalker Ranch, trying to help do pre-dubs on the sound. We're still making picture changes. A tiny fraction of the effects are in. A lot of elements have been decided, but there's still a lot of things up for grabs. It's crazy. And now we're really just playing beat the clock, because I think we understand what we have to do. It's just a matter of executing it with quality to live up to what people expect and hope this film will be. There's a lot of things that have to come together for this movie to work out. When post-production, a lot of it is people expressing what their instincts are to each other and debating that back and forth. And that's a dichotomy right there. You're explaining what you feel. I actually like this ending.
Oh, you like this ending?
Well, I like the thoughtfulness of this ending. I kind of do. When you push through something, you're sometimes eliminating the best idea because it hasn't occurred to you in the moment. Undoubtedly, when you are on the floor directing, you have so many things on your mind that it would be foolish to think that in that moment you have the proper insight into how the film should be cut.
Let me see if I can get a few more frames. You need him to see it. That's the thing, is if you're seeing it.
You tend to carry in expectations that you have from the scripting process, the development process, the shooting. What take you circled, you thought that was the magic take because it felt good on the set, but really it doesn't matter. What matters is what's in the can and what the overall story is.
This cut's gonna be good.
More often than not, I found in the past that you go through this whole journey and then you finally arrive at a conclusion and you look at it, and it tends to be very similar to the first assembly because an editor looked at it with a more objective perspective. Put it back, that wide's good there. He's not reacting to anything. Just put him after, right before she walks up. Put him after.
But he gets too close to the first one.
No, but that's not.
You don't need it. It's good? Yeah. It's very good.
I tend to let the editors have room because the process is going to be so crazy later with so many people having voices that I want to give them a moment. What's nice in the editing room and for the director's cut is you could, I have the permission to really say, it doesn't feel good to me. Try this. Let's just try this. And with non-linear editing, it's easy to try different things very quick. If we could recover from Uncle Sam into it, could we just take this cut and drop Uncle Sam into that middle slot and see what happens? Let's just see. Maybe it'll work. Never know. That's how the magic happens. A lot of what happens creatively at every step of the game, but especially for an editor, I think, is you just indoctrinate yourself to everything. And it's not like you consciously make decisions. I think that things occur to you. You feel it. It's instinct. It's what you feel in your gut is right.
I agree with you, but I'm wondering if you actually do it Hammer first, then he just quickly goes Russia, Iran, and then we're out. Instead of making a big to-do,
The expression is the last rewrite takes place in the editing room. And that's really the most important one. And it's the part of the process I like the most.
Yeah, so
that's great.
Okay. That's it.
Sometimes you could eliminate like a 3-minute scene that's just tearing the movie down and just making the whole act hammock. You get into these discussions where it's like, well, we got to cut the scene. Well, you can't cut it because how else are you going to find out that this happened? And then sometimes Jarvis could help supply that.
Anton Vanko was a Soviet physicist who defected to the United States in 1963.
The Jarvis dialogue was always a very useful tool to help solve plot problems. There was a very long, protracted sequence of us figuring out that he's dying and that the heart has to be, and then we had added late in the game the idea that he has to swap an ingot out into the thing.
Do you like that, Maddie? The idea of coming out, grabbing things, walking around through the thing, calling out my soldier, putting it in.
Things would change on the set and change in the editing room. It was great to have Jarvis express what we obliquely said, but people wouldn't understand, certainly when he's putting his heart in at the beginning.
You are running out of both time and options. Unfortunately, the device that's keeping you alive is also killing you.
And then I went to Paul, because I'd worked with Paul on Wimbledon, and I love Paul. Paul's a very funny guy.
Right now, it's reading as a screen that has the stock price of Stark going up, and so this would reflect that. We're also trying to get maybe somebody to do a bit from a monologue or something from a late-night show, making fun of the government, what happened in the Senate hearing, so topical humor. In which case,
Conan needs a job.
Last time he was in New York, and he did it over a tie line. We would show him the scene. We would supply him with pages. He'd read through it. This time we actually had several sessions with him, and he came in.
This movie's a bit heavier. I mean, he's dying in it.
All right.
And you kind of the only one who knows.
Right.
So there's certain times I think when it's appropriate to joke around, and other times, we're just sort of, the audience doesn't know what's happening, but you do and he does, and it could be very helpful in that area.
He helps us with the wording, and his British accent sounds better.
This is the one that's not going to be the movie, but let's give it a shot.
Welcome home, sir. Congratulations on the opening ceremonies. They were such a success, as was your Senate hearing.
Paul and Robert have never performed together. It's always been me on one end and me on the other end. So I'm sort of in between. And then you take me out, and then they come together well.
Sure, I recommend you change out the thing and you pull the thing, you open the thing up.
I have run simulations on every known element. I am sorry, sir. This is not a suitable replacement for Palladium.
And it's amazing how much personality we could bring to it. And it's justified because Tony Stark would program that. He's creating his friends. And, it's about a person who's very isolated and has the only people close to him are the creatures he created.
Jarvis, could you kindly vacuform a digital wireframe? I need a manipulable projection at your earliest convenience.
The music in this film, we were a little bit more ambitious this time with what we were trying to do.
This is why you come here, to get that. Ringo drank out of this one.
It was nice to come to London. Abbey Road was a really great place to come to. A sense of history, not just with the Beatles, but with film, with Star Wars and with Lord of the Rings. It's a great, great place to work.
Being that this score is sort of a bigger in scope score than the first one, we wanted to obviously go and record at Abbey Road and do it sort of the right way with a big orchestra. I think for John and the filmmakers, producers, it was fun for them because being in this beautiful, historic, big studio was wonderful. And then hearing the sound of the London Symphony Orchestra was just amazing.
Since I privatized World Peace, he's on the ropes, and now he gets the sort of the swell, the Mr. Smith goes to Washington type swell.
I have successfully privatized World Peace.
He wanted to create a different score for this film because this film is a lot different than the first in that you've got different characters, you've got a much different type of villain. What we ended up with the Iron Man theme was this sort of a combo between, it was really difficult actually. We treaded on ground that was sort of familiar, I think, to what the fans are going to want to hear. We did a number of versions of his theme. For instance, you hear his theme on the track when he first puts on his suit. We should do the first half of that and then just do a nice.
What's nice too is your strings were really good and really James Bondy, and if we end up just mixing it out, we'll lose all of that.
Right.
We were gravitating to something a bit more orchestral. I've worked with John Debney on Elf and on Zathura, and he's done a great job for me. And remained a friend and was always a huge Iron Man fan. We like what it did for momentum.
Right,
So we're asking ourselves to do, I think, maybe
Well, let me take another shot at this one. I believe it was Kevin had an idea to come up with this Howard Stark Expo song.
Everything is achievable through technology. Better living, robust health, and for the first time in human history, the possibility of world peace.
I thought it was a terrific idea. And so who better than to hire Dick Sherman?
I mean, he did the score of the first movie I ever saw, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. That was the first movie my dad took me to. And I remember it. I remember that. And it must have made an impression because I'm making movies. And Richard Sherman was up for doing a song.
Dick Sherman, Small World, all these other Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow, you know, Mary Poppins, all these classic songs. And Dick came over early on, a few months ago, and we started working right here at the keyboard. He was playing the different versions of the theme of his song, and I just, you know, what can you say? You hear it and you just know immediately it's so perfect.
Make way, tomorrow's coming today.
When I listen to Dick's music and his brother Bob, to me, when I hear their music, it's what the world should be.
Great. It's a great
One of the things John and I spoke about early was how much should be more contemporary guitar driven and how much should be a little more conventional orchestral driven. This is the amazing, illustrious
Tom Morello.
That is Tom Morello.
Here I am.
The first movie, Tom came in and played a bit on that.
Tom's a friend. He's, if not one of the most talented guitarists around. Has a great sound that fits Iron Man. Grew up a tremendous Iron Man fan.
I was a huge comic book fan, collected thousands of comic books, and among them, as a kid, Iron Man was my favorite. I think that, you know, my sensibility as someone who is not a classical composer, you know, John's got all that completely covered and is, you know, one of the best ever at handling that side of it. I think what they wanted from me was some raw guitar playing. It's going to be the experimental rock track. There was a different approach for Iron Man 2 and working with John Debney, putting the electric guitar, meshing the electric guitar with the movie.
I wanted him to be a huge part of the process. I didn't want him to just come in and be a session guitar player. I wanted him to come in, listen to sort of what I was trying to create, come up with ideas. You know, we created together, kick it back and forth, and he loved the idea. He embraced it.
That's one. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So it'll be fun.
He would come up with ideas that I think were amazing, and we'd throw it up against the picture and see if it would work.
Some of it was trial and error. I would just dial up a guitar sound, look at the screen, you know, factor in the key of the song and the changes, some of which time signature wise are more challenging than the music that I do in my daily life.
I ended up having him play in a couple of things were in 7/8 time, which is it's an odd meter.
There was a particularly tricky time signature that I just couldn't get. Okay, more time. Till finally on the There's a Pro Tools screen where you can actually visually watch the sound as it goes by.
Does this help at all if you can see
absolutely.
it?
Oh, yeah.
There's my piece of paper, baby.
There it is.
All right.
So I had to do it literally by sight and just like watch the little marker as it went down the screen. And when it came to that little blue spike, okay, play there. Some of them are much crazier and mathematical than I'm used to working with, but I was determined to rise to the challenge.
Dude, that's
an exciting
That's like Guitar Hero on.
He had a lot of fun with it. He nailed it. He nailed it. I think he enjoyed that.
We're done with the movie. I'm about to do commentary. It hasn't been reviewed. It hasn't come out yet. So I'm a little bit in a vacuum. I have no idea how it's going to be received. Last time the bar was very low. Nobody knew what to expect from us. And I don't often get to say it, and I don't know if I'll get to say it next week, but for right now, as we go into the weekend, you're all just, it's very touching, and I appreciate it.
Welcome. Here, thank you.
But now people over 2 years have Iron Man's a memory, probably better in their minds than it was on the film. And so you're fighting, you're competing, you're fighting against a set of expectations.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is a wrap.
There was a feeling in our first Iron Man of taking the subject matter seriously and not taking ourselves seriously. I think the tone was what made the movie win.
Because of the success of Iron Man, Marvel actually had a little bit of stability. Everything's changed a lot. I feel like, I landed at Plymouth Rock and got to pick out where the settlement went.
It's very rewarding, but there's also a lot of stress. And there's always this need to top yourself.
When we get into a sequel, that's where we really sort of take the gloves off and go, okay, now it worked. The audience knows us, the audience likes us, and here's what we want to present to them now.
There was not a weak link here, and it's going to show on the screen, and I just want to thank you all with deep gratitude from the bottom of my heart. Thank you all very, very much.
I think it should be the most emotionally impactful. It should be the coolest to watch.
There's some things that I really am looking forward to. Obviously, the climax of the movie, the expo. I want to see how all of that works.
There's so much that I won't know until I see it. By the time I get into the theater, I'm sure I'll be completely blown away by what John and his teams have put together.
I'm really excited to see all the stunts and how that ends up after all of the post-production work.
Every choice that we make is about how we're going to get the audience to respond. Are they going to cheer? Are they going to get chills at this moment?
We worked our asses off just to get Iron Man 2 to a place where it could maybe be on the mantle next to the first one.
Really all working on narrowing in on that character, on that tone that we felt worked as soon as we saw the first movie. So I know one of the really big things as we went into this movie was, let's keep that tone. And that tone's what makes an Iron Man movie. And I think we did that.
What makes it fresh is this sort of perfect storm of creative talents that has come together. It's Marvel, it is Favreau, it's Downey, and the supporting cast.
Working with Robert and Favreau and Gwyneth, it's been a real pleasurable experience.
It was a great experience.
I loved the first movie so much. And so as soon as I heard that there was a possible part in the second installment, I was all over it. I was desperate to be a part of it.
People love Iron Man, and I love Iron because I'm a little bit prejudiced.
We were going to really stay true to what fans enjoyed about the first one, but yet they want bigger and more. So that's always an interesting line to walk.
In this film, it's bigger, better, badder.
Absolutely.
And yet there's so much stuff that we weren't able to fit in here, and now I realize it wasn't time.
I hope this relationship gives us some place to even go further in the next one.
It opens the door to the rest of the Marvel Universe that we're going to explore in our subsequent movies.
We thought about what the big picture would be and what we were leading to. And when we were talking about the first one, I said, you can't do number 3. Number 3 has to be the Avengers.
This is going forward in the Iron Man trilogy and possibly into Avengers. We had to hold something back. So as much as I'm happy and excited with what we were able to do this time, I cannot wait to take the leaps we will, should we be afforded another opportunity.
We found a way to create, I think, a nice, fun tone and personality of the franchise that people seem to want more of. And It's been an adventure making a second one.
Are we at 10 minutes yet? No?
All right, thank you. I have to yell cut. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody. I'm Donnie, and that's Marie.
All right, buddy. Is that all?
I think that's all we have to do.